I want to welcome our listeners to a special podcast. We have a concept that I want you to really take note of because in today's growing business environment, the fractional concept is so important because you're going to hear from Jonathan. And I want you to kind of imagine as you grow in your business, you've got to select the right team members. And if you can understand fractional and what that means to your business growth, I think you can go on a path that'll help you grow. Because if you're not growing, there's lots of businesses out there. They're going to be eating your lunch. So, Jonathan, introduce yourself, who you are, what you do, and who you serve, and then we'll get into the podcast.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So my name is Jonathan Tremblay, and currently I'm the CEO of Gretrix, where we do a lot of IT level services to help optimize. I'm in the process of actually starting a new brand, and this is actually kind of my, I guess, coming out party here, right?
Mhm.
Is we're putting together a new brand that is going to be called Fractional Exec Team. And what the goal will be is to essentially be able to bring executive level knowledge and resources down to the average business, right? It's unfortunate, but after serving in executive leadership roles in Fortune 500 companies and working with major brands such as Mercedes-Benz, Patron Tequila, McDonald's, things of that nature, you get to this point where you realize that there are so many strategies that these businesses implement that give them the success that they have. But when you're a starting out business owner, you don't really know what you don't know, right? I get that quote all the time, right? Sometimes people are like, well, I don't really know what I need. All I know is that I'm experiencing these things, right? And a lot of times it's basically questions around, well, I don't know how to set up my technology so that it's automated. I don't know what tools I'm supposed to be building on my business. What's the difference between using, Microsoft versus Google Workspace? A lot of the questions that come around what it takes to operate a business effectively. Right. And so, one of the biggest things that I realized is we're all in the same boat. I'm an incredible operations guy. My business operates incredibly smoothly. People who come into my business, they're like, for a business of your size, holy smokes, the operations are just insane, right? But for example, I'm not a marketing guy. I'm not a sales guy, right? And I can't afford to go hire a $300,000 a year CMO or head of sales, right, for my business. I'm just not at that stage yet, right? And so what I realized is there's really a huge necessity for being able to find a way for these high level individuals to work with even the little guy. And that's what we're aiming to do here with the new brand that we're getting ready to launch here soon.
Yeah, I love that whole thought. And I remember, I don't know the person that said it, but it's like put the right people on the bus. And so you're growing your business, you have to strategically put the right people on your team. So let's talk for a second about a fractional technology person. So that would be, is that like a CIT? What are the initials that they
Yeah.
use for that?
Yeah. So, for example, right, when you're trying to set up a lot of the technology within your business and figure out which technologies you're going to use, oftentimes people will hire a CTO, a chief
Okay.
technology officer, someone who is in charge of the technology within your business to be effective, right? And I do want to clarify, right? A lot of people ask me, what does fractional mean, right? And to be clear, right, fractional is derived off the word fraction. It just means a part time executive, right? Fractional
Mhm.
executive. Yeah, so realistically, the idea is that you should be surrounding yourself with the best knowledge, like you mentioned, right? Like we actually, you and I were actually at a KBA event earlier this week where they interviewed business owners who have been in business for 15, 20 years. And literally the biggest thing that they said was like, as an entrepreneur, you go from a master of your craft, as you know, in my case, right? I was a developer. I was an executive within the corporate world, and then turning around and trying to figure out how to do that within a business. You now become a business operator, a business owner, right? And it's very different to turn around and again, right? Like I don't know how to do sales. I don't really know how to do marketing to the level and requirements that my business really needs. So I would be looking for a fractional head of sales type individual, right? But what I found is that even with the little bit of knowledge that I can provide to an individual in a 1 or 2 hour conversation is monumental at just feeling. I mean, just imagine, right? I have people who come on with me and literally are in tears because they're like, my business is a mess. My business has taken over my life. I don't know
Mhm.
what I'm doing. Everything is just all over the place. And they don't even know what the first step in the right direction looks like. Even just being able for me to come in and have that conversation with them and say, all right, look, calm down. Everything that you're trying to do can be done. You're not going to have, you're not always, obviously, one of the biggest things is a guy who has started out my own business 5 years ago. I've gone through the journey of like, I didn't have the resources to implement the same things that these major corporate companies were implementing. So I implemented what I could, but I knew that what I was implementing was going to build as I continued to scale. One of the
Mhm.
biggest things that I see as like a CTO is, you know, you come into companies who have already made decisions about technology, they've made decisions about
Right.
different aspects of how they want to run their business. And then as they continue, they start to realize, holy crap, this technology that we implemented, it's been holding us back because it doesn't have this or it doesn't have that, and it doesn't scale. So now everything that we've built on this one technology now has to be migrated over. You have to
Yep.
rebuild your entire infrastructure. And you have no idea how many times I've helped businesses migrate and do these things where I'm like, if you had a guy like me when you first started your business, I
Yep.
would have set you up with the appropriate technologies. And sometimes, yeah, you have no choice. You have to kind of replace and things of that nature. But at least you're going into it with that base knowledge. And I literally can give the roadmap to just about any business. Start here, then maybe eventually you'll be able to connect that to this, connect that to this. Eventually, you have to upgrade, and we know exactly what the path is. And just giving my customers the ability to just say, I know what I'm trying to do, and I know what my path is, and I know what my journey is, and giving them that peace of mind and giving them that knowledge. And even another big thing is like my resources, right? After being in the tech industry for over a decade, well, what ends up happening is I have everything from, you know, overseas resources that are extremely affordable, but won't give you as much quality. But when you're a starting business, that might be exactly what you need, right? I have
Mhm.
relationships with tons of different companies and agencies that work in different tech spaces. I have people in cloud computing, I have people in web development, I have people in all sorts of different places. And so what I can do is I can interconnect people. And so by working with me for a very affordable fee, people get access to a network of all of the smartest people
Yeah.
in different areas.
Yeah, I love it. We were at that KBA together, and he didn't discuss it this time, but I've been a part of a Q and A. It was, I think, through the chamber when I saw him. And I won't mention names because I'll just let it be at that. But he said the decision he made when he selected like the Chevy of a software for his industry instead of paying that extra and going for the Cadillac. He said, let me just pick this one. Well, he had said that it really kind of cost him like a year because all of
Yes.
a sudden you're basically handcuffed and you can't grow because you can't see the future in something like technology because I know my age group, we didn't grow up with technology, nor should you be the jack of all trades. What do you see like when it comes to the technology part? What are people saying to you like Jonathan, I have this issue. Like we were just with John Butler and he said, I've got Dropbox, I got Google Drive, I got all this stuff. I pay for it. I'm not even using it all. So what do you see out there? Like, what are the questions that come up or challenges, problems that you see in the tech space? Not, let's go just stay right in that space right now.
Yeah, no, 100%. So again, right, the reality is with technology, right, there are a multitude of different products that offer a lot of the same things, but unfortunately, each technology comes with its own features, right? And oftentimes, like, for example, people will go to like Dropbox because Dropbox is just a very name brand cloud storage type of product, right? And
Mhm.
they'll pay the markup for the brand and for all the features, but then it's like half the features that are there aren't even really necessary for the average business, right? Something simple like Google Drive, which is much more foldable, that integrates with a lot of your personal computers and things like that, can be a lot more user friendly, right? And even beyond that, there's a ton of other things, right? There's OneDrive, there's just a multitude of different technologies that do different things. I think the biggest thing that I find is that people make decisions based on just whatever somebody has told them or just an emotional instinctual decision
Mhm.
without any information or data, and either they'll be overpaying for technology that has features that doesn't even apply to their needs, or two, they'll turn around and have technology that does apply to their needs, but they don't know how to implement it, they don't know how to use it, they don't know, like with like John Butler that you were mentioning, right? It's like there are all sorts of integrations with these technologies with your personal computers, with your cell phones and things like that. And simply just being logged in or, installing this one piece of software, it's all about that one tiny piece of information that you're missing, that you haven't checked off in the right place, that makes the entire difference for your business and for your personal mental well-being.
Mhm. And it does get to that, but down to that. I like when we had the discussion, you talked about automation. How do you see businesses, capturing that concept and leveraging it out there in the marketplace? If a person has never heard of that technology of automation, what have you seen that's been beneficial in your work with clients?
Oh man, I mean, when it comes to automation and the capabilities of technology, there's just so much out there, right? I think to really address this situation, right, is when it comes to automation, it is so crucial and so important that people are capable of seeing patterns. Okay, I've been taking a lot of Tony Robbins training as of late, and he asked the question. He was like, "What is the number one thing that a business owner needs to be successful?" And a lot of people answer a lot of different questions or different things, and he says it's actually comes down to three things. He says it's the ability to recognize patterns, the
Right?
ability to understand the pattern,
Hmm.
and then the ability to manipulate the pattern, right? And I'm
Hmm.
paraphrasing to the best of my ability for those of
Right.
you that have been out there, but the point is pattern recognition is so important in everything that you do, right? Well, the biggest thing is especially anything that you do on a computer, that you're having to repeatedly having to do the same thing, even if there are different variables and even if there are different things. And some people think, oh my God, well, yeah, I do it the same way, but not really. Sometimes I pick this option or sometimes I do this. How is a machine going to know how to do that? And I'm like, well, that's what technology does, right? Technology is able to be programmed and to be manipulated to be intelligent to a certain degree, to be able to make decisions in the appropriate way. So you would be surprised. I mean, some things that people are like, wait, I have a call center full of 30 people, and they're having to ask customers all sorts of different questions, and I mean there's no way you can turn that into a technology, right? And I'm like, yes, we can actually replace your entire call center if that's really the
Mhm.
reality, right? Oh, I have a VA who's having to like receive an email here, set up over there, do this over on this technology. I'm having to do this on a ton of different technologies. How does that, like, you can't automate that, right? Yes, we can. Yes, and so there's so many things that, again, like, people are very limited in their mindset around what can be automated, and you would be
Right.
amazed at the things that we are successful there. One of the biggest even things is like now with the creation and invention of AI. I mean,
Mhm.
literally, like, there are processes that we did have some limitations around. We're like, man, like, and don't get me wrong, I'd say this all the time. I've said anything can be automated. It's just a matter of how much time and money you're willing to invest to automate it, right? And there were a lot of things, for example, that, were so complex in the thought process on how to automate things.
Right.
We got to a point that we were like, well, maybe that's just not worth it to automate because the amount of intelligence required would be too much. Well, AI has changed the game, right? You can literally tell an AI how to process, we literally have everything from interviews. I literally can take non-tangible information, right? Information that is very emotional, very subjective and things of that nature. And you can turn around and toss all of that stuff at an AI and ask it to form an opinion based on your guidance and based on your thought process. And it will literally pop out the exact answer and result that you would have made as well. So.
Right. Do you feel like in your experience in business, when you kind of in your position of looking at all these things, because my partners had told me way back when, as an accountant, he saw thousands of businesses and he saw patterns, basically patterns that were just the same pattern. And it's like, wow. Do you get excited about seeing the same thing and being able to have that solution? I mean, what drives you to the point you go, man, I mean, do you to share with our viewers what that position, those eyes looking at all these businesses coming up with similar patterns?
Yes. So you asked about my pattern, what drives me, right? And I actually want to show this to you. This is a version of a Rubik's cube that actually has 5 sides and has a ton of different components and things of that nature. And this is the stuff that I do for fun. These are my fidget toys. I actually have an entire collection of Rubik's cubes of different
Really?
levels of complexity,
Yeah.
and I do them for fun. They're super exciting and I really enjoy them. But all these things is pattern recognition, right? And that is literally why I'm so good at what I do, because since a child, I've been really, I've always enjoyed and loved the pattern recognition process, right? I played a lot of video games, and you find that as you play video game after video game after video game, they're all doing the exact same thing. It's just different flavors and things like that. Well, in the same way, now that I consult businesses, it's so funny because, there are businesses that I consult on that I've never done before. There are businesses that are in industries that I've never been in. And yet I can recognize the exact same patterns between a retail store location, an agency, a real estate business. I mean, I can see the patterns of business in every single business, and I'm able to go, okay, I see where there's a challenge there. And one of the things that I tell people all the time, right? So, for example, with this particular Rubik's Cube thing here, right? This requires a total of about 12 different patterns in order to solve, right? And so you get into this situation where you turn around and you realize that this super complicated thing that has over 400 different pieces may seem, and essentially what I'm doing when I'm solving this thing is I'm solving each individual block in putting it into its appropriate place, but I only need 12 basic patterns to achieve that goal, right? In the same way, it's the same thing with business, right? You get into this situation where, people think, oh my God, my problem is so big. There's no way that anybody will ever be able to solve it. I've got 400 different problems. And I'm like, calm down. I got you, right? There's only a basic set of issues that happens in almost every business from an operational perspective. And I know how to detect and how to identify those patterns. And so that's a big part of the process that I do with customers is I turn around and I talk to them about, hey, what exactly is going on in your business here, 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 and here. And I'm like, okay, cool. Now, once you've explained that, I can see the pattern because I have the data that I need to be able to advise on it. So.
I have a friend at church, and she's a data scientist. She's getting her PhD, and she just went to work for Equifax. And so we talk about the importance of not just data, but what does that data mean? So are you accumulating data, whatever you want to say, on a regular basis, and then put it in terms of like, because I believe what you said earlier was, we want results, but we don't know how to get there. So if we see these patterns or this data coming into business, we're solving the problems that enable people to fight through these obstructions, which I think is so relevant in today's world because technology is moving so fast. If you make a bad decision on a software, I mean, it can make or break your company at the right time because
Mhm.
technology can absolutely handcuff it. Where do you see the fractional concept? I'm really excited about it, but if you could look at the development of the concept, what do you see business? How do you see businesses being able to be affected by this
Yeah.
concept?
No, 100%. So I mean, like, first off, to your first question is like, my career started as an actual full stack software developer. So I worked with technology all the time, inside and out, and then eventually I transitioned into the data and analytics space. So I used to do a lot of the data collection for Mercedes Benz, for
Oh,
example.
really?
I
Oh
would
my
literally
God.
collect all the
Yeah.
information. I was their primary analyst, collecting all the information off of what was happening on their website and
Uh-huh.
helping marketing teams, helping development teams utilize that data to determine, oh, well, does that tiny little placement of a button make a difference versus putting it on the left side, right side, making it blue versus red? Those tiny little microscopic changes that what would end up happening is, again, people are inherently predictable, right? When you go ahead and you put things in a certain way, people will follow a certain pattern of usage
Right.
just because of the way that it's formatted. So that's where I inherently like started to notice how many things in life really have patterns, and you'd be surprised that the microscopic level of decisions that you make that are very pattern based, even though
Mhm.
it feels to all of us that it's all different, but we're very predictable creatures, even when we try to be unpredictable, right? So there's that. And then as far as that goes, like, one of the things that I'm finding, right, is even for me, right, I'm not the smartest person on the planet, and I will just tell you guys that right now. Right, there are probably 1,000 people who could probably be far better CTOs or COOs than I am. But that said, most CTOs and most COOs are in their positions within a business, and they are performing their roles and their duties for their specific business. And they have to
Mhm.
see and detect the patterns within their industry, within their environment, which is all great and phenomenal, right? And once you get to those major Fortune 500 companies, that's what you want, because they understand the concept of what it takes to kind of run a business effectively. And now
Right.
you're getting more into the nuances. But for the average business, like, the reality is you guys are all facing a lot of the same problems as your neighbor, right? I start talking to people, right? And if you find that you're seeing the fact that, oh, I'm struggling with this, and so is this business over here, and so is this business over here, and everyone is struggling with the same thing, it's because of the lack of knowledge and understanding of what's happening. Well, because I turn around and I work with so many different businesses and I'm constantly talking to different businesses, I see the pattern and I'm like, oh man, this company over here is struggling with holding people accountable, not being able to actually have a process of establishing consequences for employees and reward systems and things like that. That's an inherent process issue that so many companies are struggling with. Oh, this company over here, they don't understand that, something as simple as scheduling appointments and getting things on a calendar and making sure that the information gets to all the right places and things like that, it's the same basic technology that almost every business can use. And so, even though, like, again, I'm not the smartest person in the room, I have a very unique advantage over people that are 10 times smarter than me, because I am collecting data from so many different customers.
Yeah.
I'm literally finding out, and even as I go through these processes, I find out, oh, look at this company. They're doing something really unique and really smart. Shit, I'm going to take that to all of my other customers that I bring. So, like, when you work with somebody like me who has his hands and is collecting data from so many different businesses,
Right.
you're not going to find a better answer and a better solution to your problems, because I see it all. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a cool spot to be because in today's world, we're learning so fast, and speed to market is so crucial that you have to have the ability to solve your patterns or problems quickly and provide the solution, because the other company right around the corner, they're going to be much faster if you're not careful. So you have to be aware of what moves that needle. So tell our viewers, because I want to be respectful of your time. We're
No.
going to come back. Tell our viewers, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, as of today, the easiest way is to, honestly call me, text me, whatever you need. My cell phone is fully available to anyone for 9322. And then, of course, from there, as of right now, right, I have my Gretrix brand, which has my Gretrix email, J Tremblay, JTREMBLAY at Gretrix.com, GRETRAX.com.
Awesome. I want to thank you, Jonathan, for being with us. And what would be the one thing you want our viewers to take home from our time with you on this podcast?
I think the number one thing is what you meant, what we've been talking about since the beginning, which is really, you don't know what you don't know unless you have someone who has gone through it, who has experienced it, right? Oftentimes people are like, well, I don't really, I don't know if, this is going to be something that provides the value to my business. I don't know if this is what's going to be beneficial here or there, right? And the reality is you are never going to know unless you do one of two things. You can either go and get the experience yourself, which is going to cost you money. It's going to cost you time. It's going to
Mhm.
cost you your mental and emotional well-being. Or you could work with somebody like me who, frankly, let's be honest, right? I have probably invested tens of thousands of hours already learning and hitting my head against the screen and trying to figure out all these things. I've already probably invested millions of dollars in hours and time and employees and technologies and things of that nature, testing out and working with a multitude of different technologies. And I have already gone through the stress and the mental health challenges. And now you can benefit off of that by leveraging someone else's experience. You can go through all that yourself, or you can turn around and find someone who's already gone through that experience so you don't have to.
Yeah, I don't know if it's Tony Robbins, but it's one of those leaders say, learn from others' mistakes. I mean, why do you want to make them when somebody else has made them and you can learn from them? So I appreciate you, Jonathan, sharing the fractional executive team concept, because I think as businesses grasp it and know that now they can grow faster, solve problems faster, see patterns, to embrace you and be a part of that, it'll be exciting to see the success stories that are going to come out of it.
Yeah, no,
So
absolutely. I appreciate it.
thanks so much, Jonathan. We appreciate you being with us this afternoon.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a great rest of your day.
Okay.